Welcome back, my business besties. Today, we're having a really important conversation. This is your money lever. This is the thing that most people don't do because it's hard. Today, we're talking about how to reduce your no-shows and your cancellations. I think that it is hard because we are healers first. We are helpers first. We ended up in our own business, but not because we wanted a business. I didn't go to university to say, I'm going to be a businesswoman. No. I went to university to help. I went to university to be a therapist and to make a difference on this planet. And then as a result, I was like, okay, I want to help people and start a private practice. And then of course, a group practice. But because of that, there's certain things like we do think like you're business savvy, which is why you're listening to the Business Savvy Therapist podcast. But I think deep down, there are things that are hard, and this is hard. Why is it hard to keep and enforce our actual cancellation policy that was an agreement between two adults? It's hard for a few reasons. One, if we're doing the therapy, it's particularly hard in our solo practice because you're there to make their life, like your job, my job was to make their life better. And this could be an awkward conversation. This could be a conversation that could make their life not better. They could get angry, and it's just awkward, which is why the beauty of having a group practice is you don't do this. Even if you have a solo practice, please don't do this. Your admin will do this. The admin has to be the bad cop. You're always the good cop. Okay, that's really important. Now, you're probably listening to this because you have a group. So you, as the owner, always has to be the good cop, and the therapist, we're protecting the brand, the therapist, and the reputation, which is kind of you. So if it's okay, talk to your admin to be like, hey, there's some times where we're going to have you do the hard things because it makes sense that it's the admin and not that person that they trust, AKA their therapist. I have such exciting news. This is the hidden revenue lever in your practice that you may not have even thought of. Think about it this way. If we increase your show rate by 10%, and we will after this conversation, it will instantly increase your revenue by 10%. Holy cow. No clients had to come in. No marketing had to be done. You had to do something hard and follow a policy, and that is it. And you got a revenue bump. Did you know that the cancellation no-show rate will always be the highest on the free consult? It kind of makes sense. They are not invested. They don't really understand therapy or if it will work. Or maybe if they do and they've been in therapy before, there's no commitment to that person. They haven't even met them. Even myself, and think of yourself, I've definitely canceled free consult calls, but I don't feel bad because it's free. I never met you. I feel bad. I don't do it a lot, but like there's been times where I never no-show because I personally think that's rude, but I will cancel because I'm not invested yet. I'm not bought in. I haven't fully decided. So know that. One workaround for that is you want to make sure you have in your calendar lots of availability. That's why you should hire. Research tells us that availability is correlated to sales. Let me explain. In every industry, those with the most availability have the most sales, and there has been meta research on this. It makes sense because the more slots you have available, the more opportunity to book. So there's that piece. And what I'm about to tell you next, though, you need more availability for. You are going to increase your show rate, or also I could call it reduce your cancellation and no-show rate, but I'm going to say increase your show rate. It means both things, right? In general, they're going to show up and not cancel and not no-show. You're going to increase your show rate if you allow them to book within 48 hours. Jot that down, within 2 days. And this actually reduces your sales cycle. Now, some of you don't have the availability at all. You look and you're like, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to fit them in for, let's say, a week or 10 days. Then you end up with a really long sales cycle, meaning it's hard to get revenue through the business because there's a wait. Does that make sense? If you reduce that and you reduce it by hiring, you're going to have more people show up, more sales come through, but mostly less people will no-show or cancel. If you think about it, they're motivated. They're like, okay, I'm feeling motivated to do therapy, and boom, it's 2 days later. I'm already booked. I'll just go. I'm still in the flow of that decision. The same goes for the first appointment. Did you know the second highest statistic for the no-show and cancellation is, you guessed it, not only the free consult, but next would be the first appointment. That's a hack. Make sure they can book within 48 hours. I suggest your cancellation rate is 48 hours notice, not 24. So if they cancel or no-show within 24 hours and you have a 48-hour policy, then they're going to pay the full session rate. You want to make sure your team goes over this at the free consultation call and being very clear about the cancellation policy. So there's 2 adults, like this is a policy, do you agree? Now there's a reason why it was 48 hours. It gives us a whole extra day to find someone else to fill that slot. It takes a minute to reach out to all the people, if you have a wait list or if you don't, just to keep it open long enough that another therapist will book somebody else in. I love JNAP. I talk about it all the time. Did you know that they have an automatic waitlist feature? It's really cool. People will be added, let's say Wednesday at 2. You can see them in the calendar at the top. They're waiting there. You can see not only the wait list, but what time and date they need to save time. But it's completely automated and smart. So if and when somebody cancels, guess what? If you have the automatic waitlist feature on, it will immediately reach out to those people on the waitlist. And the first person that says, yep, clicks the button, I'll take that appointment, boom, they're in your calendar. So you want 2 full days to be able to fill those spots. I was very strict with my cancellation policy. Here's the thing. Right now, if it's just you, it might not be a big deal. You let it slide here, you let it slide there, which, by the way, I'm going to talk you out of. Think at scale. I had 55 therapists. That's a lot of no-shows. There's just more people, more things happening. So if you were lenient at the beginning, you're going to actually scale problems. If you have a small problem now at scale, it's going to be a big problem, which is cancellation. So hear me out. Be strict. Show boundaries. You're talking about that in therapy. They're watching us, by the way, right? They're paying attention to how you lead your life and your clinic. You having boundaries is just emulating what you're literally telling them to do in their life. I was really strict about 2 things. So we get the most cancellations here in Toronto when it snows. There's snowstorms. We had 2 big ones this year. I'm always thinking about you during them because I know that could be stressful. And then we also had people who were sick. So here's the policy. I would be on top of, and thank gosh we have notifications now for the weather. And I trained my admin in this. If we know a snowstorm is coming, guess what? We now know that like days ahead. We would immediately, so my admin would reach out to those people before they even thought about canceling and say, hey, do you want a virtual appointment? Aren't we lucky? You should have no-shows and no cancel, or specifically no cancellations, because you can offer the service even when they're sick and even when there's a snowstorm. Our policy was we will waive the fee if you cancel within 48 hours, only if there's a medical emergency. Keywords, medical emergency. What is that? Good question. It would be things like my little Jimmy broke his arm. I'm really not well. I'm in the hospital. I got in a car accident. I would call that a medical emergency. An emergency. There's a big thing that happened. I cannot make it. Here's the truth. And I remember telling my team this because there was like pushback around the cancellation policy a bit, which is hard as a leader when you feel the pushback and then you question, oh God, am I doing the right thing? Because your people pleaser part comes up. But I remember telling them, because they're not thinking about business, guys, we can't run a business if every time somebody's sick, we just let them not come in. You won't be busy. There's going to be a large portion in general of your clients that just don't feel well. And I'll tell you something, this is so interesting. The moment we said, just to remind you, our agreed upon cancellation policy, agreed upon, keyword, because we agreed upon it, 48-hour cancellation policy, it's only a few hours before your session. So we will be charging you your full session fee. However, there is an option for a virtual appointment because I do know that you're sick. I can talk to the therapist. If they can do virtual, would that work for you? 9 times out of 10, they would say, oh yeah, shoot, I forgot about that policy. Sure. Yep, I'll just grab my laptop. We'll do it in my bed. There was one other time I would waive the fee, and it was if the client was pissed. My admin knew. And here's the thing too, I was actually saying this in coaching to Suzanne last week. She has such a beautiful bleeding heart. She's one of my members, and she's like, oh my God, it's so hard. And I told her the beauty of having a group practice, and this is what I did too, and I was triggered about certain things and it was hard for me to follow through. I removed myself. Suzanne, we have to remove you. You just let your admin do it all. You don't even have to know. Guys, now I'm talking to you. Listen to me driving in your car, walking your dog. The same goes for you. If there's something that's really sticky in the business that you're like, oh, that's really hard. I get emotionally triggered. It's just hard. I feel bad. All my parts are triggered. Let's remove you. Completely delegate it, put a process in place, and then it will just happen. But the best part, you won't even know about it. However, if they're pissed, you should know about it. So my policy was the admin knew, we had an admin team of 6, okay? They knew if they said a couple of things, cancel all my sessions so they're that angry, or I'm going to leave a bad Google review. Those were the 2 times the admin knew like, oh, okay, let me just talk to Nicole and I'll call you right back. And then most of the time we would talk about it and then it just wasn't worth it. Losing the client, having bad PR go around the city about the clinic's reputation. But that was only the time, only if they're really angry. And I think it's in the way that it's presented as like the agreed upon policy. A lot of the time they're not angry, they agreed upon it and they're making a decision to not show up. I want to go through some really clear logistics here and details. Let's say someone cancels at 1 p.m. You're probably wondering, do you charge their card right away? Well, technically you could. I didn't feel great about that because what if they forgot about the cancellation policy? I don't know. They just like completely forgot about the appointment. I just didn't want to charge their card without them knowing. However, the policy does state that we can. I believed in a courtesy call. It would take less than 30 seconds. My admin would call them and say, hey, Susie, we're so sorry we missed you today for your appointment scheduled at this time. Just a reminder, as per our agreed upon cancellation policy, because you didn't give the 48 hours notice, I'll be charging your visa on file. If I don't hear back from you today at 5 p.m., I'll be processing this. Done. Did you hear the part about if I don't hear back from you, I'm doing this anyway? We weren't asking. We were sharing information about we're going to be billing you for this. We weren't saying, this is important, give me a call back, let's talk. We weren't saying, I'm going to wait for you to tell me if I can do this. No, we were saying this is happening and giving them a heads up because I just prefer to do it that way. Let's talk paying your team for cancellations and no-shows. If you have contractors, you only pay them when you get paid, right? That should be in your contract. If you work with me, I gave you a contract template, so it is in there to protect you. So that part's easy. Person didn't show, they don't get paid. If you have an employee, it's different in some ways. It can be different. Hopefully you have a therapist. If you've hired them as an employee, then that means they're hourly, right? You don't hire them on salary. Hourly means you just come in and work. But if there's no therapy to do, then you don't get paid. So with employees, if they work, you have to pay them. If they're writing notes, if they're showing up to supervision or a meeting, just so you know, you have to pay them for that. A lot of people don't think of that, and you do. Now, typically though, you can pay them admin pay, which is way cheaper than the therapy rate. Just know that. It's about $25 an hour if they're just doing any other type of work that's outside of their therapy. So if there's a no-show and they didn't do the therapy and they're not doing anything else because there's nothing to do, then they do not get paid because they're not working. They're hourly and they're not putting in an hour of work, so they're not paid. Now, some members in my program will feel bad, and honestly, I would too, if they came all the way in. Let's say they drove 20, 30 minutes in a snowstorm, God forbid. We've all been there, that's for sure. And then the client doesn't show. What you could do is say, you know what, you're here. I'm happy to pay you admin time if you want to write a blog or a social media post or some frequently asked questions for the website. You could do that if you wanted, but you don't have to. And please do not do that. I repeat, do not do that if you have contractors. Contractors literally just do therapy. We treat them like they have their own business. And if they do not do the work, they do not get paid. Okay, how do you feel? What came up for you? As I was walking you through all of that, what came up for you? I know this is hard, but it is necessary. Just breathe in. I can do the hard things. I can do the hard things. I tell myself that all the time This is a boss moment. I can do the hard things. Everything trickles down from you, beautiful, the leader, you handsome, the leader. Just breathe it in and know, okay, I'm going to do the hard things. It will only get easier, and then delegate it. You won't even know it's happening because you've completely systemized it and streamlined it. I hope you took lots of notes and you run with this, and I'll see you next week.